I have the great pleasure to have with me today for the 40 Years 40 Women initiative at the Career Women's Forum, TonyaMcAvock, Global Senior Director at Lexmark and Executive Sponsor of Women at Work Diversity Network. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Monica.
So, Tonya, who are you in a few words?
Yeah, so in addition to the words that you just kind of said there, I would just say I'm another woman who is trying to balance all the things that we always do. So yes, I'm a senior leader in a multinational organization with a large team all around the world, managing time zones from the Americas to Europe and Asia. I'm a mother of 3 kids, aged 9 to 14, so managing all of the different phases of that. I'm a wife of a husband who also works full-time, and so trying to manage together our family and our careers and all of the other things we try to do in our lives that give us pleasure, as well as trying to find time for self-care. So, you know, I would just say I'm like many of us all, just trying to do all of these things and balancing my life.
What are the ingredients of your success, Tonya?
That's a great question. I think the first one is I love what I do and I love who I work with. And I think this is an important first step for anybody. My role today is a bit strategy, a bit operational execution. It's finding problems and solving them, and it's leading large teams. And I love that, and I think I'm quite good at that. So another one is having the right skill set for your role and making sure it's a good match. I would say one thing that I've realized in the last few years that helps deliver success is the right support. And really strong sponsorship is important. Who your manager is and are they supporting you, who your mentor is. So I think in addition to finding a job that you love, that you have the right skill set, but also making sure you have the sponsorship. And then obviously in terms of being a senior leader at an organization, I have a number of strengths that I think that help with my success. I am a driver of action. I'm a communicator. I love communicating things. And, you know, I think I have a lot of positive energy in my job. So we tend to get things done, but we have fun doing it. So.
In your career, what would you do differently if you could?
I really thought, you know, about this question a little bit. What would I do differently? I don't know that I would do anything different with my path because I can't change my path. The one thing I would do differently is be more patient with myself. And I think I had to go through the tough times to learn and to grow and become the person I am now. So instead of thinking through, oh, I wish I hadn't had that time, I now look at it as I learned so much during that time, and I think it's helped me become the person I am now.
What is the best advice you would give to women who want to develop professionally?
So I think one thing is know what you want and say it out loud, and don't take no for an answer. So make sure you can articulate what you want, and in the right way, of course. I think one piece of advice, I hear a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, saying they're afraid to take that next step and they're afraid of this role. Somebody once told me, if you're not afraid of a new role, then you're not learning and growing. So think of it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Everybody's nervous. And people are sometimes surprised when I take on new roles. Yeah, I'm nervous. It's a brand new team. It's a brand new challenge, right? We're all nervous, but take it as an opportunity to learn and grow. And I did have a mentor tell me once, when you're thinking about your next step and you want to grow professionally, think about what are the 3 things you're going to learn in that new role. And if you're learning 3 new things, you're continuing to grow. So forget a little bit about salary and level and all of those things. Think about, are you going to continue to grow professionally, and is it helping it take you to the next step?
In your opinion, Tonya, what is the most important change still to come over the next year for women to develop?
I don't have the one big thing that needs to be done. I wish I had that answer. And we've talked, about what are the things we can continue to do. I think it probably starts with how do we get, and as a mother of daughters and a son, by the way, how do you get women to take on non-traditional schooling, non-traditional jobs? How do you encourage them that those things are okay? And by the way, same thing with boys. How do you encourage them to take on the things that are non-traditional as well? And so how do you really get diversity across? I think there is something in the women's career around managing off-ramp and on-ramp, specifically with having children. And yes, men have this too, but I think there is something very specific with women that have children, not that all do, around managing your career, the off-ramp and on-ramp, and how do we support that in general. And I think, the other thing for me is choosing companies that help grow, develop, and help women be successful. But when I think of career perspective, I think of trajectory as a word that is used a lot early in your career, like thinking this is where I want to go, and if I just point my way there, I can get there, right? I think in reality, I don't know that your career trajectory, I would use a word of a path. I think you still have to know where you want to go. You have a place you want to go, right? But if you just assume it's going to be a direct point A to point B, I think you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be disappointed and it doesn't go direct, and you're going to have bumps along the road. But it's actually those bumps and those sideways and the time that you stop and spend a little bit more time with your family or other things that give you joy that makes for your full career. So very similar, know where you want to go, and does that next step help you on that path, right? Back to the 3 things, I really do use that a lot. For me, it's just a simple tool. I like to write down what are those 3 things I'm going to learn that I can put on my CV, right? Does the step leverage your strengths and help you continue to develop other things? And I think back to support network, when you choose a next step, is that step going to allow you to continue your support network or even grow it, and being very conscious about that.
How do you see change and how do you approach it?
So this one has been talked about a lot. Change is inevitable. And I step back to, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. We had just come off of a year that was just incredible in terms of the amount of change, and everybody was exhausted. And I remember at my kickoff meeting, I wrote down, this is the year of stabilization. I mean, I said it to the world, right? And of course, that was the year where even more change happens. We had system changes, we had restructuring, we had people changes, we had everything. And so I decided I'm no longer going to say we can stabilize, but instead we have to embrace the change, right? So I think, embrace change, figure out how quickly you get through your change curve. Even more importantly, be the change. How are you the one that says, this is what I think it should be, right? For your team, for yourself, be the one to influence what that next change is.
Tonya, what is the message that you would like to share with women who seek to find, to define, and materialize their trajectory?
So in thinking about this, I think I want to talk a little bit about what my trajectory was, my career path, because I think of it in kind of 3 phases. Very early on in my career, I would call it the classic trajectory. I was pulled up. And I had great sponsors. I moved around jobs before I even had a thought that I wanted to change it, right? And that was very easy until I had personal constraints, i.e. I wanted to stay in one location in Europe and have my family, right? Then I went through this period where I had to fight for my roles. I had to say, I want this one, I want that one. And they weren't necessarily up. They were out and growth, and I was in a different phase of my life. And in that period, I learned so much, right? But it wasn't a trajectory in the sense I was going up. I was staying flat. I was still a director level, but I was staying flat and moving around to different roles. But I learned so much during that period. I would say now I feel like I'm kind of in this dream job where I have great sponsors. I have this ideal role for my strengths, and I'm really looking forward to what is next. And so I'm back to kind of where do I want to be in those 15 years, and what does that path look like? So I think that, just kind of with that in context, advice or message is that there's not just one trajectory, it is a path. But in the end, you should always look at where you want to go in the long term and figure out how you can verbalize that. Figure out what are the skills that you need to get there. And how do you get those skills? Developing sponsors that help you get to that spot. And then the last thing I would say is just take all the opportunities that you can, because sometimes it's that side project that demonstrates your skills to somebody else, gives you the network or the sponsor in another area. So really, try to grow yourself, even if it's not exactly in the path that you perceive.
Tonya, many, many thanks for sharing with us and the CWF community your thoughts around trajectories and paths, I should say. Mm-hmm. Thanks again for being one of the women of 40 years, 40 anniversary initiative.
Great. Thank you so much.